Everywhere I go, I promise you, I will, every time I speak on a stage, you better believe I'm telling people about Pat Flynn and the Smart Passive Income podcast because he changed my life.
Yes.
And then he changed my life again when I paid him and became his customer. And then he changed my life again when he had me as a guest, a testimonial on his podcast. And then he became my friend. And the dude changes my life on a daily basis every time we text each other.
Welcome to Streams of Income with self-help author Ryan Rieger.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Streams of Income radio show. I'm your host, Ryan Rieger. And boy, do I have an awesome episode for you. Today, I'm chatting with Shane Sams of Flipped Lifestyle. We had a blast chatting, and I know you are going to love this episode. Here it is. You get the librarian site, the football site, and then how'd that morph into now you have a group of hundreds of people that are learning how to do their own membership community?
Totally by accident. I mean, it was when we quit our jobs, man, it was like, I mean, we were making more money than we knew was possible, and it was totally passive income. I mean, we were just like, at that point we were working like, maybe a week every 12, you'd have to batch a bunch of content, but then most days were an hour, 2 hours, do a little customer service and you're done, and we were just kind of cruising a little bit, on elementary librarian, on the football stuff, on everything that we were doing. And, people, when you quit your job in the middle of a school year in Southeast Kentucky where jobs are scarce, right? People look at you kind of funny, man. We got all these crazy questions. Like my mom, she was like, she cornered me one day, man. She was mad. She was like, you have flipped out. You have lost your mind. I cannot believe that you would give up that good job with those good benefits. And you've got babies, Shane Sams, you've got babies. She was mad at me. And then other people were like, hey, are you and Jocelyn okay? Did you lose your job? Are you getting divorced? And I'm like, this is the opposite of divorce. No, we're not getting divorced. But sooner or later, like people asked us if we'd sold drugs. I got that question well more than once.
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy, dude. And but some people started saying like, wow, what are you doing? Like, how can I do that? And a girl in our Sunday school class, her name was Lindsay. She said, she's like, nothing bad's happened to me, but I have a dream to homeschool my kids. But I can't do that if I'm working full time. Wow. So do you think I can make money at home and work online too? And we're like, yeah, sure. We didn't know any better. So we showed her exactly what we did. It only took her a few months and she quit her job.
What was her niche?
It was education. She was in education too. So she was serving instructors with the same thing we did, like lesson plans and stuff like that. And she would even sell them in like third-party marketplaces or to other content creators like us or anybody. Like, so she was kind of like this, putting it out there,
Wow.
And when she quit her job, man, her husband like came up to me crying after church one day and was like, you changed our lives. You changed our family's future, man. He's like, I'm going back to school and we're paying for it with cash so that I can get a better job. And he's like, this is amazing. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. And didn't know what to say, Yeah. And when I got in the car with Jocelyn after church that day, I was like, man, this online business stuff really changed our life and it really changed their life. Like maybe we should tell other people about this.
Yeah.
And I actually had not done it yet. So fast forward a couple months, we have a bad month. Our first really bad month when we're like, oh, entrepreneurship is not all fun and unicorns and rainbows, right?
Right?
Like there's bad things that can happen, y'all.
Yes.
And so we had this horrific month, but we had 6 months of expenses saved up and stuff. So it wasn't like a terrible thing, but it was like, 2 or 3 of those in a row and the wheels are coming off the bus.
Right.
So we had about 6 months of runway. The sales went choo-choo for 2 straight months. I was like, we got to get some help. We cannot keep doing this alone.
Yeah.
And went out to see Pat Flynn. He was having a live event. It was a small live event, 20 people, a workshop. You could come ask him questions. And I was like, Jocelyn, we should chunk off that last month or two and we should pay for this. And Jocelyn was like, oh, you crazy? Can't do that. What if we have 16 bad months in a row? Scarcity mindset was kicking in, So we got a credit card. Sorry, Dave Ramsey. Apologize. And went out there and we went to him. We saw him. We got some great advice for our business. But at the same time, I presented this thing like, Pat, I think we have a different vibe. Like, it's the same thing you're doing, but man, you're a Filipino guy from California or something. I'm an old boy from Kentucky. And like, we're going to do this together, me and Jocelyn. So we're going to have our podcast where we talk a man and a woman on the air. And, it's like, what do you think? And he was like, go for it. Just total abundance. He was like, I'll do anything I can to help you. In fact,
because he had the Smart Passive Income podcast.
That's right.
So he could have thought, you know what? No, that's my thing.
That's right. That's right. But he did not. He said, man, there's so many people out there on the internet. Some people are going to like you. Some people are going to like me. But the great thing is they're all going to get help. And then he had me on my story is so entwined with his story that he had us on his podcast, and we actually launched Flip Lifestyle on his show.
Wow.
Yeah. We said, hey, it's open. We opened it like the week before. And then the next week we had a webinar and we got 120 people to join.
120. Wow. What was that first price point?
I think $49.
Nice.
A month. And it's $197 now.
Wow.
Yeah, a month. So like, it was $49, man. And it just blew up. So,
man.
And then it got so fulfilling. Like it got big, but Elementary Librarian was still definitely the cash cow, the bellwether. I mean, it was just like, it was easy, We were about 3 or 4 years in. Flipped Lifestyle was getting up there. Like it was a great income and it was great community. And we were starting to see success stories. Like we were starting to see other people, like we had people like Rena Oriana. She came in early in our community and she started this dancing website teaching people how to flamenco dance.
I listened to that episode.
Yeah, and she like blew it up, got 75 members. She quit her job it supplemented her studio, and then she had her own studio, and she has 400 members in that membership now, man. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Do you think there's any niche that you can't build a membership site around?
I don't think so. I'm really starting to wonder because like we've had people like we got this guy named Kenny Troiano out in San Diego, and he teaches people how to raise backyard chickens. That's all he does, and like he has 200 people in his membership site. We've seen artists like there's a guy named Evan Burse. He teaches people how to draw superheroes.
Gosh,
and he's got his whole living. He makes.
I got a crazy idea. You ought to find like you ought to ask your community. What's the craziest niche you can think of? And let's find.
I know it.
Let's see if we can. Let's all together figure out. Let's create a membership site together, or find. Somebody that does this.
All right. So here's the one we'd have to beat. Okay. So there's this lady up in North Dakota named Teresa Perlyberg. That's a real name.
Perlyberg. Okay.
Perlyberg.
Okay.
Like a city, Perlyberg, the city of Perlyberg. Teresa Perlyberg. And Teresa, she joined our membership. She's like, I have this website called Bear Mountain Felting. And here's what I do. She goes, I raise sheep. We're like, okay, so you're going to teach people how to raise sheep? She goes, no. I shear the sheep. And we're like, okay, so you're going to teach people how to raise the sheep and shear the sheep? She goes, no. Then I take the sheep and I dye the wool. And I'm like, okay, so you're going to teach them how to dye the wool? She goes, no. All right, what are you going to do with it? She goes, I take the wool and I use this technique called needle felting to turn the wool into stuffed animals. And she holds up a giraffe. And we're like, okay, so that's what you're going to do. And she's like, yes, I'm going to build a community of sheep shearing, wool dyeing, needle felting artisans who do this for a hobby. It's not even looking for a job or anything.
Oh my gosh.
And we're like, okay, she has 400 members.
400.
Her membership is so big. She bought an old school in North Dakota. And she turned all the rooms into like little Airbnbs, and she flies people into North Dakota to have sheep shearing, needle felting seminars in person in her own world headquarters. So like that's the one we got to beat. That's going
to be tough. I have a friend that does that with wreaths, and people come in and do wreath making with her. Sweet lady named Nancy Alexander that has a membership.
Everybody hangs a wreath on their door.
Yeah.
Who is holding down a sheep just to get the wool
exactly.
to needle felt it, right?
Yours is way more that's way more rare.
But I like this concept though. We might need to work on this. Like, can I come what's the most obscure idea and see if I can get an audience and build it?
Let's
and like if we
that would be a challenge.
That would be a great challenge.
A challenge first. Would you guys, you and Jocelyn, take that challenge on, or did you find somebody in your community? It's kind of a
I might get my team try it.
That would be fun.
I'm past the point of starting anything new at this point right now. So I'm 43 and I have 2 kids that are about to be teenagers. So yeah, I'm taking a little break on the new ideas for 6 years until they're in college. So
people come to me, Shane, and they want to know, like, I'm interested in, football, basketball. I also love knitting, just throwing stuff out here. How do I pick my niche? Like, how do I know which of these 3 or 4 things that I'm interested in? Like, I could see, I would love to teach on this, or just build a business around one of these things, but how do I pick? How do you direct people to finding their idea?
I guess that kind of depends on the why a little bit, because everybody's running towards something or away from something. Okay. So like I was running definitely away from something. So I I needed, we needed a path that could produce. And I think the best option that we had at the time was to really lean in on what our careers were, because we could produce that fast, and if it didn't work out, we always had the resources that we could use on our own time. So I think the more you're running from something, you lean on your God-given skills, talents, knowledge, the experiences that you have along the way, your career path, you lean on those skills you're really, really good at, even if they don't, your passions and hobbies can come later, the thing you love. Right. So that's what I would say there. If you're content and you're like, man, I want to add a side income of 50 people paying me $50 a month. I want to pursue my hobbies and my passions. If you're running toward a goal and a dream like that, like of using your time where you want it and maybe making some money on the side, that's really when those niches come in, or those hobbies, those passions, those things you really, really like, like football was a little bit of both for me. That was really cool. But Jocelyn, 3 years after we had Elementary Librarian, we sold it. I mean, because she just wasn't passionate about librarians. It just had dominated and made so much money. So we actually sold that business because she just wasn't a librarian anymore. So she was ready to kind of move on, to let it go and go to Flip Lifestyle. That's
good. So you pick your niche and then you start finding your audience. Is it pretty much the same hand-to-hand combat at the beginning of that? Depends. If you have no audience whatsoever, you don't have any connections.
There's still that open your wallet.
Yeah, that's true. Let's talk about that one.
Yeah. If you've got disposable income, it happens a lot faster. You can put yourself in the right place to be at the right place at the right time. You can buy tickets to live events. You can go out and network and meet people faster. You can go get in front of other people's audience by making connections and being guests on podcasts, things like that. You can buy Facebook and Google and Pinterest ads, and you can get your message in front of people, or maybe even hire someone who knows all about online marketing, and then they can go run the ads for you. So, there is always going to be both. It is definitely a circle, it's a yin yang. There's always going to be the roll up your sleeves. There's always going to be the open your wallet. But if you can do both in the beginning, it's definitely going to help you succeed faster, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. We tell our audience the same thing. We find, where's your people hanging out online and off, especially online though, and just get in front of them and serve them, just answer their questions.
And I'll tell you, man, I've been in this game 10 years now, and the rolling up the sleeves works the best. I swear it does, man. Like, I mean, just think about me and you hanging out here today. Like I was in my pickup truck driving down to Dell Hollow Reservoir last year. And me and some buddies of mine who are also online entrepreneurs, we rent a houseboat every year, and we go get away for a week, right? Just go out there we disappear, no service, no nothing for a week, And I was listening to this book. It's called The Dream 100 by Dana Derricks. And I was just like, he was talking about this, like, can you find 100 people who can help you and serve them without any thought of getting anything back.
Yeah.
And you'll be shocked at what actually flows back your way.
Yes.
And I just went all back in on connections last year, man. And I've just done nothing but make connections and just look for people who I can help. Like one way I met Dan, I met him through Aaron Walker, a mutual friend. And I just love Aaron Walker so much. And I got to know Dan, and I had him on my podcast to just share him with my audience. Yeah. And I was like, man, I just want to help these guys. And I just did a 2-hour coaching call with them because, and man, you talk about coming back. I mean, those guys, man, they live and breathe reciprocity.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, man. So like that rolling up your sleeves, getting out there and just meeting people, pandemic or not. Come on now, shake hands and hug, y'all. We're back. That's right. I'm vaccinated. I can do it. Yeah. Like just get out there and like make these connections, and don't go at it like I want other people to help me. Like, what can I do for other people? Like I had you on my podcast. I don't know you from Adam until today, and we've had a great time.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
So so I mean, stuff like that really is the best way to do it.
Yeah. Any advice on reaching out to somebody that, like with Dan, we had a mutual connection, but let's say that, pretend Dan Miller, you've never met him, you're not really sure you know anybody that knows him, but you feel like, man, I want to make a connection with him. What's some advice for reaching out to somebody, not in a weird, creepy way, in a way that they're actually going to notice? Because guys like Dan get hundreds of emails.
Yeah, man. The first thing, I become their customer. Period.
Yes.
I go buy their book. I go join their membership. I buy their courses. Like I got Dan's book sitting on my shelf. It's an important part of my story.
Yeah, me too.
Share their stuff on social.
Yes.
Don't just reach out to them, like retweet. If you have any kind of audience, share it like crazy. You know, and also too, just become a fan, like sing their praises. Like I became friends with Pat Flynn because I'm a testimonial for him. Everywhere I go, I promise you, I will, every time I speak on a stage, you better believe I'm telling people about Pat Flynn and the Smart Passive Income podcast because he changed my life.
Yes.
And then he changed my life again when I paid him and became his customer. And then he changed my life again when he had me as a guest, a testimonial on his podcast. And then he became my friend, and the dude changes my life on a daily basis every time we text each other. Pat called me about 2 weeks ago and he's like, hey man, my 500th episode of the Smart Passive Income podcast is coming on. And my team and me unanimously agreed that we think you should come host the show and let me be your guest on SPI.
Oh my goodness.
And but none of, I never would have thought of, that's not even something I could have imagined being a possibility. Yeah. I just love Pat Flynn. Like I'm getting emotional about it, you know, like I just love that dude. Yeah. And everything I've ever done is just like he had a live event a couple years ago. It was called Flynn Con, right? It was 2019. Heard he was having it, saw the announcement. I sent him a text and I said, don't pay me. You don't have to do anything. You just tell us when and what you want us to do. And me and Jocelyn will be on an airplane to San Diego, California to be there for you.
Wow.
And he had us on stage and we talked and interviewed. He interviewed us on stage and we, not a dime. Don't need it. I'm still thanking you for everything you've done for me.
Absolutely.
So that I would say that is the progression that it's people think you're going to read a lot of books that say, go to these events, say these things, follow these scripts. No, become a fan, become a customer, serve them in every way you can, put yourself in the places that they are going to be so that you have a chance to meet them when you do. And then don't try to force it. Just do whatever you can to help them. And hey, listen, 90% of the people I've ever met probably will never do a thing for me, but it's the 10% that make the difference.
Hey, Ryan Rieger here. If you're looking for proven real strategies for making money online, then grab my book, Streams of Income. In it, I detail the 3 main ways to make money online. And these are strategies that students of mine all over the world are using to make real money. And the best part is these are strategies that you can get started with $0 and 0 experience. So if you'd like a free copy of my book, Streams of Income, check out the link in the description below.